Discipline matters more than talent. Hi, I'm Stevie Ray, an improv professional for over 40 years and a martial artist for nearly 50. And I use both disciplines to help people own their space in challenging situations. And this particular saying is close to my heart because as a kid, I was not physically talented. I couldn't defend myself against school bullies, and sports, forget about it. You know how there are two teams on the baseball field and then there's the last kid picked? I went one step further. This is true. There would be two teams arguing over who had to take me. I was not only last picked, I wasn't picked at all. So when I got into college and I saw my first martial arts demonstration, I thought, I want to try that. Which a lot of people would have told me, well, you're not physically talented, so maybe you should try something more intellectual. Well, as I trained in karate, judo, and all the other martial arts I was learning, I went to my sensei, the teacher, and I said, what can I do to get better? And he said, come to class. I said, well, is there anything particular I need to work on to improve? He said, yes, there is. I said, well, what is that? He said, we work on it in class. That was my first lesson, that nobody is naturally talented at anything. They have to put in the steps, the everyday discipline to continue improving. Now, when it comes to my career in improv and stand-up comedy, I have not only performed, I've taught new stand-up and improv performers and comedians. And so many times I hear this, wait a minute, aren't you either born funny or not? People are just funny or they aren't. That is not true. Nobody's born funny. The only thing you're born with is your height and your hair color. Being funny takes work. Being funny takes discipline. I remember as a child growing up, I would tell jokes because that was kind of my thing. But if a joke didn't work, it bothered me like crazy. Now, my brothers and sister and friends, if they told a joke and it didn't work, well, they didn't make humor a part of their identity, so it didn't bother them as much. They got good at their respective endeavors. But for me, I had to figure out why a joke didn't work and fix it. That was discipline from the age of 5 every day until now. Now, when you look at performers on stage, they're not naturally that way. They had years of discipline to get that way. Look at Jerry Seinfeld. After he ended his very famous sitcom, he went back on the road as a stand-up comedian in clubs. And it had been years since he had performed stand-up comedy in clubs. So a documentary was filmed where a camera crew followed him around from club to club, watching him get back on his feet. The discipline of returning to his art form. He would walk up on stage with a notebook and say, all right, I've got some ideas. Oh, how about this one? Say, why did people do this and why do people do that? No? Not good? Okay. Crosses it off. And he just went through his list in a disciplined fashion, figuring out what worked and what didn't. Now, that kind of thing is not going to show up on an HBO special. The discipline is behind the scenes. Every day, we have to put in the steps it takes to keep sharp. And that never ends. You keep doing the discipline that becomes what people consider to be natural talent. That's how you own your space.